Do any of you remember material design? I have vivid memories of me as a repeat student, high school senior, gawking at Google's first reveal trailer for their new material design system and salivating at the prospect of one day being part of the same set of professionals. Life didn't look as bleak as it did in my classrooms. There were actually grown-ups who were doing this for a job. Like, they paid the bills with shapes and colors and typefaces. You see, Mom, it can be done. Anyways, I personally associate those videos to the peak of the design thinking wave that swept our world in the early 2010s. Design was finally getting a seat at the grown-ups table. We saw entire industries shift toward the design-centric approach to problem-solving that elevated creatives to messianic figures with the innate elusive gift of sorting out reality and making it make sense. And I gotta say, it was thrilling. And for a brief moment, it seemed plausible. But the enthusiasm around design thinking quickly revealed itself for what it was. The newest fad amongst Silicon Valley's tech bros that garnered a lot of attention, media coverage, and, of course, investments for otherwise mundane for-profit businesses. Yeah, back then, this strategy sounded like 5D chess. Anyway, what was left behind was a plethora of disillusioned designers who felt cheated out of a dream job most of them hadn't even had the chance to attend for a single day. But the lasting effects of this depressing epiphany were poised to plague the design world for the next decade, as this watershed moment gave birth to one of the most unbearable, insufferable trends in modern graphic design history. The slew of postmodern, irony-fueled I hate graphic design memes that have been topping the charts for years. And frankly, I'm sick of it. God, I'm ranting about designers again. I'm like my worst nightmare. Roll the intro.
Draper. What do we have here? I am here to
Draper,
unbox you.
get your eyes on
This.
Check out the coffee page at the link in the description to support our work. Thank you. In late March, Elizabeth Goodspeed, It's Nice That's US editor, published an article titled Why Graphic Designers Can't Stop Joking About Hating Their Jobs. This article prompted many in our community to become aware of the issue, and me to finally put this video idea I've noted 4 years ago to fruition. As you can see by my working title, my take is a bit less neutral than hers. While I encourage you to read the full article, which I've linked in the sources of this video, her main point can be summarized as follows, and I believe has never been more relevant. Designers have become so disillusioned with their work that caring genuinely about your profession is now seen as naive, or worse yet, uncool. Our peers have become so deeply afraid of being judged, so severely allergic to criticism or, God forbid, disapproval, that the only approach to their work they see fit is one of total irony, a postmodern detachment that doesn't betray an inkling of earnest purpose. The intoxicating wave of design optimism that washed over our community a decade ago now looks more like a tsunami. Every building in its path has been turned to rubble, and the inhabitants of those structures now drag their feet through the mud, wandering aimlessly through the debris with a caustic smile on their faces. See, they can't lose if they don't care. Now, I don't have to be the one to explain why this approach is almost exclusively counterproductive. An entire generation of designers has been constantly bottle-fed sardonic memes about how deeply useless their output is by their own peers.
You still spend hours of your day picking the right font? Oh, you're so 2016. Thank God I'm still cool.
This irony quickly spread to the whole practice, so that now it's not just a matter of your specific deliverable being overlooked or hastily discarded by obtuse clients. It's your whole profession being inherently, profoundly, and hopelessly irrelevant. But that's not all. Like a never-ending arms race to one-up each other with the trendiest adjectives you can throw at this, your work has now recently become toxic, alienating, and how could one forget? Fodder for your inevitable burnout looming over the horizon. Do you also feel the piercing neck pain I get after a day of staring at Illustrator? Yeah, that's your whole pension fund going down the drain, my friend. Quit while you still can. Anyways, so why is this happening? Many solutions have been thrown around by design journalists and popular content creators, and I don't believe I will surprise anyone by naming the most popular. Yeah, it's capitalism. How could you possibly guess? This is where my position on the matter diametrically diverges from the one Elizabeth hints at in her article. Before I explain why, I will acknowledge there is most definitely something to be said about the effects industrialization has on every craft. It's been observed by very smart people and talked about in almost every art form. Nobody likes to spend their day arranging the same 5 assets for 20 differently sized banner ads on cruelty-free laxatives. I get it. If you've been promised a future where you and your design peers would be consulted by the financial manager before converting their discovered page to an endlessly scrolling feed, you've been lied to. Most decisions regarding a business will still be led by sales and marketing, and your work will usually have a marginal impact on the final product. Let me be clear, this unequivocally and wholeheartedly sucks balls. I'm with you. But I believe if we look back at the causal factors of this bitter truth, we can rest assured the trade-offs have been more than fair. Let me explain. Before our industry had been commodified to the point you can pay a kid in Bangladesh $10 for a new logo, graphic design was a craft reserved for a few lucky illustrators and typesetter that were well connected enough to get the attention of the Don Drapers of Madison Avenue. It's hard to find exact figures as the concept of a graphic designer wasn't really established before the late 60s. However, the most reliable statistics I could find listed the total numbers of designers working in the US in the 1940s as little more than 100,000. That's according to the United States Census Bureau. If we chuck in printing craftsmen and typesetters, the total number grows to roughly 180,000. Now, after the post-war economic boom and the advent of commercial advertising, the personal computer, the internet, sneakers with lights in the soles, and all the pretty things that make our Western world go around, the number of graphic designers currently employed in the US is roughly 270,000. Let me be clear, that's just graphic designers. This means the number of employees in a single branch of the commercial design world counts more employees than the whole sector did when your grandma was a teenager. This alone should make you reconsider your stance around the issue. Millions of people around the world can now find a way to monetize their craft in ways that weren't even conceived of 2 generations ago. According to ONET Online, our field is set to have around 80,900 openings each year, on average, due to employment growth and the need to replace workers who leave the occupations permanently. Now, this is in no small part due to the unfathomable speed with which capitalistic societies can democratize access to previously inaccessible and gate-kept professions and businesses. However much you might hate Adobe, and trust me, you don't as much as I do, you still gotta give it to them. They took jobs that had insanely high barriers of entry and abysmal turnaround times for basic tasks and made them so trivial most of the people watching might have scratched their heads when I named typesetters a few minutes ago. Yes, kids, choosing a font back then was even harder than it is today. Despite the unfunny memes. I know, it's hard to believe. And before the free thinkers of the design world start typing in the comments, yes, this was all done for profit. Big whoop. Just like your favorite I hate graphic design Instagram page, the folks at Adobe don't despise making money. But see, that doesn't seem like such a big problem when the harbingers of this new age philosophy profit off of their craft. Or even funnier, the irony-fueled content they make about their craft. Since I've mentioned it, I don't think this specific aspect of the present phenomenon should be left merely implied. What started off as a spontaneous and organic expression of commonplace frustrations of our day-to-day has now turned into a marketing scheme, a popular approach and public stance on the matter that accrues a lot of favor amongst the disgruntled crowd. It's a form of populist rhetoric that refuses to engage in any sort of nuanced and multivariate arguments, deflects any responsibility for graphic designers' issues with their work and their market, and pins all of them to capital C capitalism and the big corporation actually creating the demand. I can't be the only one who finds some of these pop star graphic designers to be almost comically hypocritical and out of touch. With followings in the hundreds of thousands constantly warning up-and-comers about the many perils of capitalism and how excruciatingly purposeless their work is, while sitting on their errand chairs to post their newest case study on the world tour merch for Taylor Swift or something. Like, my god, your life must be a tragedy. To these people, this nihilistic, listless approach to a world they largely seem to have lost all beliefs in is in no small part responsible for their online success. They're not impartial observers soberly warning up-and-comers about what's waiting for them. They got stakes in this, and not where you might guess. And let me be clear, this may all be a matter of carelessness rather than premeditated ploy. I want to believe no one is deliberately exploiting the issue at the expense of young designers and the field in general. But regardless, it's still clearly being done. Novices are approaching our world and being swallowed by an endless feed of pessimistic, disparaging content with a fatalistic outlook on our future role in the job market, made by the same people that profess to care about designers. So here's a radical idea. If you think the system is corrupt, if you truly believe there's something irredeemable about commercial design and our specific role in the product or service market, then quit your job and move on. I often wonder why none of these people ever choose this option. To anyone else, yes, long hours suck. Getting your work rejected after days of toil because the automated A/B testing algorithm says it's not cutting it is total bullshit. Damn, our last video took 4 years to make and it got less views than my IG stories about my cat. I know what it feels like. But it's also part and parcel of what allows millions of people like us to make drawings for a living instead of flipping burgers in an overcrowded fast food kitchen or tiling rooftops in the middle of summer. This does not mean we don't get to complain. It just means we have to be reasonable about it and avoid turning what could be a constructive expression of shared frustrations into a crusade against genuine expression and wide-eyed wonder about our craft, which has poisoned the well of so many young designers who have set foot in our field. Kids, graphic design is very cool. Sometimes it can hurt your feelings, leave you profoundly disappointed and drained of all your passion, but it's worth it. You get to make things that didn't exist before, show people what they love, or better yet, what they didn't even know they loved. You get to take what their brains can't express and put it into images, shapes, and colors. That's fucking magic, my friends. And it's okay to care about these things, to put days into them and be rejected or criticized. It's okay to be proud about your profession, to want to improve, be successful, and even to be wealthy. Fuck this I'm above all mentality. It never turns into anything of substance. You have the power to make things, not scoff at them.
I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight, and I want to be up there. So I'm deeply grateful to that. This doesn't signify that, but it's a little more fuel, it's a little more ammo to keep going. Thank you so much.
Please, don't stop doing it. Thank you.